Welcome to Midweek, Experiments in Faithfulness. This is a weekly program where we learn and grow with each other in community. Every week, we engage in a unique and meaningful topic or spiritual practice that we can incorporate into our own lives. My name is Brent, and I am the Program and Engagement Manager here at Beacon Hill Friends House. We are a center for learning in Boston, Massachusetts. We are home to Beacon Hill Friends Meeting, and we are also a residential community of about 20 people. Tonight, we are going to talk about the Enneagram. Why is my partner so stubborn about the budget? Why does my friend avoid conflict at all costs? Why does my teenager spend so much time on the computer? If questions like these leave you scratching your head, the Enneagram might just hold the answers. The Enneagram is a dynamic framework that identifies 9 distinct personality types, each driven by unique motivations, fears, and strengths. It's a powerful tool for decoding why we think, feel, and act the way we do. When it comes to relationships, the Enneagram is a game changer. Whether it's navigating the dynamics of an intimate partnership, improving communication with a teenager, or building trust with colleagues at work, the Enneagram offers practical insights to help you connect on a deeper level. In this midweek introductory session, I will be guiding you through a bird's eye view of the Enneagram. I'll help you understand yourself and others in a way that fosters empathy, compassion, and stronger connections. This session will set the stage for future midweek presentations where I will dive deeper into each type, equipping you with tools to navigate conflicts, celebrate differences, and build relationships that truly click. All right. So the Enneagram, why we clash, why we click. The Enneagram in love and friendship. My name, again, Brent Walsh. I have been studying the Enneagram for over 10 years. I actually learned about it when I was in seminary at Earlham School of Religion. I graduated from there in 2013, but I started learning about the Enneagram while I was there. And so it was about 2011 when I was introduced to it, and I was not impressed, to be honest with you. I could not see myself in any of the numbers. There was too much information. I didn't click with it. And so it was not something that I was immediately excited about, but I started talking to someone who was very passionate about the Enneagram. And they took an opportunity to ask me a bunch of questions that helped me to identify where I where I fit or where I felt like I really belonged on the Enneagram. And so that was what I needed in order to really fall in love with the Enneagram. And I have been studying it ever since. In 2023, I learned about life coaching, and I took a 2-year course through Coach U and got certified as a professional life coach. And I got my ICF, which stands for International Coaching Federation, got my ICF life coaching certification in 2023. And at the same time that I was getting that, I also took a course for to become specifically an Enneagram life coach. And so I focus primarily on relationships and life transitions. The Enneagram is used in a lot of contexts these days. It has really started to take a lot of kind of center stage at a lot of organizations, uh, churches, counseling and therapy careers. Prisons are starting to use the Enneagram. Um, big box companies are starting to introduce it to their teams because of the way that it really um, inspires people to kind of like work together. It really gives people an understanding of their colleagues. Religious organizations are using the Enneagram. It's being preached from the pulpit. It is being practiced in small groups. Educational institutions are teaching it. Literary like authors are starting to use it to develop their characters for their books, for their fictional books. People are going to Enneagram retreats. Parents are using it to get to know their kids better, to understand, to relate to their kids better, to relate. People are using it to relate to their partners more. It is just kind of exploding, but it is actually a pretty old system. It started in Sufi mysticism, and so it actually has been around for a very long time. But it has been used in our particular context for the last 50 years or so. So this is a it's the popularity of the Enneagram is relatively new. This is going to be an introduction to the nine types. So we're just going to take a bird's eye view of like what the nine types are. And there's also going to be an opportunity for you to find out what your type is, or at least to give you a launching pad to explore that if you don't already know. Each of the Enneagram personality types experience the world in a very different way. And sometimes this leads to the clash, the the times when somebody sees the world in a way that we just don't understand, and maybe we don't think that their fears are legitimate, or we don't feel like uh maybe we think that they worry too much, or maybe we are annoyed with how they show up in the world. And so it can be hard to relate to each other when we are so different. So so we each have our own experiences that create within us behaviors, responses, um, coping strategies, things like that we use to kind of move through the world, and it can be very isolating. On the other hand, when we find that person or that group of people who thinks exactly the way we do, or at least very close, we can really start to develop the sense of belonging and validation. Finally, I found someone who worries about the same things I worry about, or are delighted by spreadsheets that I love, or that who absolutely uh, loves to parse, numbers or words or things like that. You find people that really like move through the world in the same way that you do, and it can be very validating to relate to each other. And so sometimes you just find that person or those people that you just click with, and it's not always clear why um why you see the world so similarly. You just know that it's refreshing to kind of spend time with people that you don't always have to explain things to because they just get it. Learning the Enneagram is like unlocking your loved one's secret code. You finally get an idea of what their core beliefs are and what strategies they use to navigate these challenging feelings. Um, you can kind of see some of their blind spots. You can see some of those ways that just, why they think the way they do and why they behave, why they act a certain way. It's so helpful to like see in black and white. This is why, you know, they show up the way they do in the world. What I have learned once I really started studying the Enneagram and getting to know like each of the different types, I started being able to see um, how it shows up in different contexts for different people, how these different personality types show up. I especially love watching the show Survivor. And the reason is because I can sit there for the entire show and I can watch these characters, these people who are, like trying to win money in a reality show in a very stressful situation where at first it's kind of this honeymoon period. Everyone's getting along. They've just arrived on the island. Everybody's feeling good. They're well fed and so on. But then as time goes on, they start getting hungry and they start getting grumpy and they start getting and they're playing this game, and so people are sneaking around and forming alliances, and it's fascinating for me to see the different personalities and how they show up in the game. It's kind of this microcosm of like on display raw Enneagram strategies to navigate the world. But in my own life, in my relationships with people, with my colleagues, intimate relationships, friendships, when it's really important for me to be able to get along with someone, regardless of whether we believe the same way or we think the same way, communication is vastly improved if I can understand why they feel the way they feel or think the way they think or behave the way they behave. This is also true in the case of conflict. Knowing or having an idea of where someone falls on the Enneagram can give you a lot of information about not only why conflict exists, but how people are working through it. And it can open up the conversation to be curious about certain things. So people at the bottom of this slide here, it says it builds a bridge of understanding. It doesn't always mean that people are going to walk across that bridge. The understanding still depends on the people involved, but it at least builds the bridge. It makes it possible for people to have more conversation about what is important to each other, and it empowers, it encourages empathy and understanding. So, lesson one: type yourself first. When we talk about the individual types, the different types, you may be able to see your loved ones and your friends and family and people that your colleagues in these different numbers. You're like, oh yeah, I know a four. Okay, all right. I sure do know an eight or something like that. But type yourself first. This will give you an opportunity to really start by looking in the mirror and seeing um, how you can offer yourself some grace and some understanding and some compassion, and also leading by example. When you start to grow in your own understanding of yourself, um, and giving yourself grace and empathy, for ways that maybe you have been harsh with yourself about. Um, you're going to be able, people are going to be able to start to see that, and they may be very interested then about what is this Enneagram thing, and maybe I should try it out and see what Enneagram type I am, and then it opens up the conversation a lot easier than just trying to convince people that they should definitely be interested in this thing. Number two, let others type themselves. This is a hard one for me. I love the Enneagram so much. I just walk around the world looking and watching people and trying to imagine what Enneagram type they are. And I have learned some hard lessons about not only assuming that someone is a type that they are not, but also treating them in a certain way that comes from an assumption of how they want to be treated based on the Enneagram type that I think that they are. That is not that is not a good way to use the Enneagram. This is an opportunity to open up conversation and to get curious and to ask your loved one, what type do you resonate with? And we all have such complexity, and there are so many ways that different numbers can look very much like other numbers. And we move around the Enneagram in all different directions. Uh, every day we may behave like every single number on the Enneagram. And so it's really risky to say, I think I've completely pegged you as this certain Enneagram type, because if they don't resonate with that type, um, they might be offended. Avoid assumptions. Let everyone identify their own type. I think it's perfectly fine to speculate without sharing with that other person, with the person that you're talking about. Like if you're talking with a friend, I think my colleague is this number. I think that's fine. But don't talk to that person and say, you're definitely this number because I see these qualities, or I see these certain behaviors that convince me that you are this type. And finally, empathy, not judgment. We are not trying to fix anybody because people are not broken. There is no bad Enneagram type, and there is no good Enneagram type. We all have strengths and weaknesses. We are different, but we are not wrong for being the type that we are. So it's important that when we are talking about the Enneagram, we are talking from a place of empathy, connection, um, and and curiosity. All right. This is a book that I have had on my shelf for a long time. It's called The Wisdom of the Enneagram by Riso and Hudson. These are two pioneers in the Enneagram, that have written a lot of books, and this one is a particularly powerful one that I still use. It's downstairs in my office and it's on my desk, not on a bookshelf. I have been using it and looking at it and referencing it. And in it is a quick and easy typing test that I invite you to take right now with me together. There we go. All right. So this is going to include two groups of paragraphs. So there's going to be a paragraph A, B, and C, and then paragraphs X, Y, and Z. And so your job is to, when we get to the next couple of slides, I'm going to show you. They're going to be on one slide. A, B, and C are going to be paragraphs on one slide, and then I'm going to go to the next slide and show you X, Y, and Z. And your job is just to pick one that sounds like you, from each group. Pick A, B, or C, and then pick X, Y, or Z, and just write it down. But don't overthink it, because not every word in each paragraph is going to sound exactly like you. This is just an overview, and if you kind of like think about how you generally show up in the world, um, as an adult, don't think about how you've been showing up in the last couple of weeks. Think about how you just in general, an overview of how you kind of move through the world. And if you get stumped, think about when you were 20, how you showed up then. And then what we're going to do is you'll pick a paragraph in the first group, and then you'll pick a paragraph in the second group, and then I'll show you some results. All right. So let's see if we can get this to work. There we go. Here is paragraph group one, and I'm going to read these, um, and you can read along with me, or you can move ahead if you read faster than I do. All right, group one, paragraph A. I've always been quite independent and taking care of myself. To me, it feels like life works best when you get straight to the point. I set goals, I get involved, and I want something to happen. I do not like to sit and wait. I want to achieve something big and affect my surroundings. I'm not necessarily looking for confrontations, but I'm not going to let anyone ignore me either. For the most part, I know what I want and I get what I want. I engage fully both in work and in fun. Paragraph B. I've always been pretty quiet and I'm used to being alone. I don't usually pay much attention to myself socially. I'm neither shy nor assertive. I don't like taking the lead and I'm not very competitive with others. Many would probably say that I'm something of a dreamer. A lot of my activities go on in my head. I can be quite content without feeling that I always have to stay busy. And then we have paragraph C. I've always been very responsible and dedicated. I feel horrible if I do not keep my promises and do what is expected of me. I want people to know that I am there for them and that I do what I think is best for them. I've often made great sacrifices for others, whether they know it or not. I'm not good at taking care of myself. I do what needs to be done, and then I can relax and do what I want if there's time left over for that. I'm just going to pause for a moment to give you an opportunity to just take a look at each one again. All right, let's move to the next group. Hopefully, you have chosen your paragraph. We're going to move to the next group. Paragraph X. I have generally had a positive outlook on life and believe that everything will probably work out for the best. I can usually find something to be enthusiastic about and different ways to keep myself occupied. I like being with people, and helping others feels good. I appreciate being able to share my joy and well being with them. Even when I don't feel top notch, I usually try not to show it. However, this positive attitude has sometimes meant that I've postponed my own problems for too long. Why? I feel strongly about things. Most people can tell if I'm upset about something. I can be on my guard with other people, but I am more sensitive than I pretend to be. I want to know where I stand in relation to others, and I want to know who and what I can count on. It's pretty clear to most where they stand with me. When I'm upset about something, I like to get feedback from others, and I want them to be as engaged as I am. I know the rules, but I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. I want to decide for myself. And finally, paragraph Z. I am controlled and logical. I do not like to reveal my feelings or delve too deeply into them. I am effective, even perfectionistic, when it comes to my work, and I prefer to do things my own way. For personal problems or conflicts, I try not to let my actions be affected by my feelings. I don't usually show my reaction when others get on my nerves. Some say I'm too chilly and distant, but I don't think so. I just don't want personal feelings to take my attention away from what's really important. Okay. All right. So let's see what we've got here. This is the score key. Find your two paragraphs here. All right. So if you've got your notes down, I'm going to go through and talk about each of these numbers. Type 1 is called the reformer. They call the type 1 the moral compass of the Enneagram because right and wrong, black and white really matter to the type 1. They're highly principled. They're They are very, it's very important to them to be on the right side of a question of right and wrong. Now, what each Enneagram type one considers right and wrong may be up for debate, but they want to be on the right side of what's right to them. And so they work very hard to make sure that they are living in integrity. They are often found in social justice efforts. They're found in faith groups, very devoted to their faith. If they, whatever they believe, they are devoted to that. So that doesn't mean that they are necessarily religious, but they, if they embrace a spirituality, they embrace it with a lot of dedication and commitment. The Enneagram Type One really wants to make the world a better place. So it's very important to the Enneagram Type One to be seen as a good person. This can get them into a little bit of trouble with perfectionism. In some cases, the Type One can be very hard on themselves and very critical of themselves and judgmental towards themselves. Sometimes that criticism and judgment extends to other people in their lives. But they are really, of all of the Enneagram types, they are probably the hardest on themselves for being what they perceive as imperfect. The keys to connection, um, acknowledging their efforts and appreciating their integrity, reminding them that it's okay to relax and be imperfect. Anything that you might see on one of these slides, just remember this is a broad brush, broad overview. There is so much complexity to every single number. It's hard to encapsulate uh, a person with just this limited amount of data. In the Enneagram Type One midweek, we'll have an opportunity to further kind of grasp what the Type One is all about. The Type Two is the helper. A lot of people really are very helpful, and they do it for a number of, a variety of reasons. Everybody on the Enneagram can be seen helping people. Um, when it comes to the Type Two, there is almost nothing that can stop them from trying to help. Other people on the Enneagram circle, okay, if you don't want my help, fine. That's fine. I'll let you do it. I'll let you, go on your own way and do it your own way. But the helper is very insistent. Please, please, please let me help you, because that is kind of like how they identify. They identify as a helper. They really want to help. So if you were in a social setting, you might see this person in the kitchen bussing tables or washing dishes or cutting the pie or doing, just finding ways to help people, helping people physically or emotionally, helping, trying to offer advice, all of just so many ways that they want to express their desire to help people. They are very generous and supportive, but they also have some trouble with overperforming and people pleasing. And sometimes it can be really challenging for them when it comes to boundaries. Sometimes they want to help when somebody doesn't want their help. And they can feel really hurt if someone doesn't want their help. So the keys to connection with a Type Two is to show genuine appreciation and remind them that their worth isn't based on helping other people. Encourage them to take care of themselves too. That is a big one for a Type Two, because if they are not helping someone, they almost wonder, why are they even here? They really wrap their identity around being that helper. The type three is the nickname, the achiever. The type three really identifies with their work. I've known a few type threes in my life, and they are dynamic, they are charming, they are inspirational, and they also are really conscious of how people perceive them, which drives them to work far harder than any other Enneagram type. The type three really wants to be recognized for what they do and how well they do it. And so they are not only inspiring themselves to put in all of the time and effort and energy into what they do, but they also want to see other people putting in that same effort. So they are typically very good leaders because they inspire people, and they, people want to be on their team because they're a lot of fun to work with, but they don't mess around. They want to make sure that things get done. And so sometimes that can get them into a little bit of trouble with workaholism. And sometimes if they need to cut corners in order to get the thing done, it's not beyond their scope to just say, okay, fine, cut the corners, just make sure this gets done on my desk Monday morning, and then we'll move on to the next 17 projects that we've got lined up waiting for my attention. One of the keys to connection is to recognize their efforts and encourage them to slow down and be present. Value them for who they are, not just what they do. They're going to fight you on that because they're going to say that what they do is who they are. It is not. But that is a growing edge for a type three, as we all have growing edges. So find creative and encouraging ways to get them to actually put their computer away and just enjoy the beach. The type four is the individualist. This one is the romantic, the artist, the deep feeler. They are known for being in touch with their feelings, and they are not afraid to feel all the feelings. They are so in touch with their feelings that they can absolutely relate to other people who are feeling big feelings. You might see a type four on a crisis hotline because this is the person who not only says, I get you and I understand you. Oh, no, no, they actually do. They actually, they can feel everything right along with you. If you are crying, chances are the four is sitting there with Kleenex and crying right along with you. They are not afraid of tears. They are not afraid of emotions. And they are not going to question whether you are whether you have the right to feel the way you do, because by golly, you have the right, and they're gonna join you in it, whether they are in the same boat or not. The four is the individualist because they want to be unique. It's hard for them sometimes to realize when people actually get them. Sometimes they feel like they're all alone in the world because they are so unique, and you might even be able to see, to identify type fours by the way that they dress and by the way that they show up, because they are just like, they can be very eccentric in the way that they dress because they don't want to be like anyone else. They don't want to, you know, you might see them with tattoos and piercings, or the or clothes that are very colorful, or a beautiful headscarf that really makes them stand out because they don't want to be like anyone else. So one of the worst insults that you could give a four is, oh, I didn't notice you. I walked right by you. Please don't say that to a four. Instead, validate their feelings, appreciate their depth and creativity, and remind them that they are already enough, just as they are. These are the deepest feelers of the Enneagram, and they take those feelings and they create with it. They create the most beautiful artwork, the most beautiful songs, the most beautiful poetry, the most beautiful writing, the most amazing plays and dances. They are, type fours are our touch. They are our human connection with each other. The type five is the investigator. They really are they are wonderful at research. A type five typically really loves to read. If it's not books, then it is manuscripts or scientific articles, or researching whatever captures their imagination. They will research it to the ground. When a type five gets interested in something, they will check out 100 books from the library. They will forget to eat and forget to shower because they are so engrossed in what they are researching. And so if you have a type five in your life, you might never see them because they might be spending so much time on the computer, or so much time in their room. They love their alone time. It's very important to them, because their mind is so sharp that if they get distracted, it can irritate them. And so it's important for them to have that space for them to really dive deep into whatever it is they're researching. I am quickly running out of time, and so I need to make sure that that I don't get stuck on these individual numbers. I love talking about the different numbers. So let me just move on quickly by saying, if you have a type five in your life, respect their need for space, engage in thoughtful conversations, and show patience as they show up in on their own terms. The type six, very quickly, is the loyalist. They are the troubleshooters of the Enneagram. They will make sure everyone is safe, and the type six is very um very concerned about security and safety. They want to feel safe. The type six is kind of an anxiety expert. Not only do they feel anxiety all of the time as a consistent and a constant undercurrent of their human experience, since they have to navigate that day in and day out, they are experts at navigating anxiety, and so they know how to do it. They know how to show up in the world and still be engaged with the world while they are navigating all of these anxieties. So they are often worst case scenario kind of thinkers. So if you have someone on your team or in your life who is a type six, it might get a little frustrating if they're always talking about what could go wrong. But boy, do we appreciate a type six when we are looking through a contract, or if we are wanting to make sure that the next car that we buy is the safest possible car. Get your type six out to go car hunting with you, because they are going to ask all the questions about safety ratings and all of the things. We love our type sixes. Make sure that if you have a type six in your life, be consistent and trustworthy. Don't tell them you're going to do a thing and then not show up. Reassure them without dismissing their concerns. um, Help them build confidence in their own judgment. Sometimes they don't trust very easily, and that is themselves and others. So remind them that they are trustworthy. The type seven is the enthusiast. The type seven is the people magnet and the party animal in some cases. Um, Even if they themselves aren't always going to parties, when they do show up, the party has arrived. The type seven Everybody wants to go to their parties and everybody wants them to come to their party. They are full of fun and laughter and joy. They love adventure. They are spontaneous. They're optimistic. Uh, the sevens just keep us laughing, keep us having fun, and they play such a wonderful role in our lives, as all of the Enneagram types do. But the sevens do it with such joy that it's just contagious. If you have a type seven in your life, embrace their energy and ideas, help them stay present instead of chasing the next big thrill, and create space for deeper emotional connection. The type eight is the challenger. Some people look at this and say, oh, why would I want to be a type eight? Because in some cases they can come across as a bit aggressive. But one of the most wonderful types of the Enneagram, when it comes to standing up for what is right, they will advocate for the underdog. They are very protective. They are excellent at leadership. They have a bit of a hard time with vulnerability because they have they have a hard time feeling like vulnerability can still be present in someone who wants to be strong, and they are very, very strong people. So they can be a bit confrontational and intense, but they are so generous. They um, they have a huge capacity for getting things done and helping others to get things done as well. If you have a type eight in your life, be direct and honest. They really respect someone who will just say it like it is. They can be a little rough around the edges sometimes, but they also are very accepting of other people who are rough around the edges. Stand your ground with respect. Show them that vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. And finally, we have the type nine, who is the peacemaker. These are the diplomats of the Enneagram. These are the ones that when there needs to be conversations, conflict resolution, these are excellent diplomats. They're very easygoing and supportive. And I just recently described the type nine as um, the person who, when they walk into the room, everyone can just relax and take a breath and exhale, because they bring with them this energy of everything's going to be okay. The entire world could be falling down around us. The type nine shows up, and we all know that we're going to be okay. The type nine is very uh, brings with them a very chill, relaxed kind of energy. If you have a type nine in your life, encourage their opinions and choices and reassure them that conflict doesn't mean disconnection. To wrap up, remember that the Enneagram is a roadmap for understanding why we clash and why we click. It helps us gain empathy and clarity, deeper connection, and it keeps and we can use the Enneagram to keep exploring and use these insights to build stronger, more meaningful relationships.